Fear Not, Episode 29. Hi, I'm Billy Atwell, and I believe that consistently facing your fears is the only way to realize your truest self and to make those confident choices that will help you to obtain your deepest held hopes and dreams. I have faith that this podcast series will show you that you are not alone, that it will strengthen you and give you courage to face your fears, and that it will help you to permanently cross over into a life of living beyond your fears. Join me on this journey as we listen and learn from others as they share their experiences in facing and overcoming their own fears. Hello, everybody. Today, you and I are going to be joined by Anne-Marie White. Welcome, Anne-Marie. How are you today?
I'm well, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Are you ready to fear not?
Yes.
Anne-Marie White is an established performer, actor, singer, acrobat, and pianist, or as she calls it, an interdisciplinarian. She has performed in a variety of roles in both operas and plays, including Pamina in Mozart's The Magic Flute and Perdita in Shakespeare's The Winter's Tale. She's also sung with the National Philharmonic. Anne-Marie is a highly sought-after teacher of voice, both speech and singing. Much of her work is indebted to the approaches set forth by Kristin Linklater and W. Stephen Smith. She seeks to find truthful expression at the intersection of speech and song, finding ways to integrate the body and voice and the need to express emotion. She is currently living in London and studying at the Royal Central School of Speech and Drama as the recipient of the Julia Wilson Dixon Memorial Scholarship. Anne-Marie, can you take a few seconds to fill in the gaps and maybe give us a brief glimpse of your personal life?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, like you said, I'm in London. I'm loving being in London. I grew up kind of all over the world, so I have a bit of wanderlust in me. So I'm getting to see quite a bit. I'm making plans to go to Portugal this Christmas and Iceland for New Year's. So lots of great opportunities to be on this side of the Atlantic. Besides that, I have a wonderful boyfriend back in Chicago who keeps me animated and happy. And yeah, I like puppies, long walks on the beach, cookies. That's me.
Okay, well, thanks for sharing.
You're welcome.
Anne-Marie, can you share with us today one of the biggest fears that you've had to face?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been interesting preparing to talk to you, Billy, because a lot of the fears that I kind of face on a daily basis came up. I have this kind of overarching idea that I never want to be put down or put in my place by anybody else. And so I kind of walk around assuming that I'm a little bit inadequate, I'm a little bit not enough. So who am I to talk about fear? And yet here I am doing it. So clearly something's been overcome. um, but I think the idea of inadequacy or feeling like you're not enough is something, it's a core belief that I think a lot of people struggle with. It could be a good motivator, a good guide, something that kind of fires you up to get going. But besides that, it can really push you down. I think it's interesting that I've ended up being a performer, working in a career where somebody else can kind of tell you that they don't want you on a regular basis. So perhaps I've kind of put myself in the place where I have to overcome a fear. But as a teacher, I also spend a good amount of my time talking to people about how to just show up and be okay with themselves without any costumes or covering up, and feeling that they are adequate themselves.
So, what do you do exactly to overcome this fear?
Yeah, I wouldn't really be representing myself well if I didn't say that I have a very strong spiritual life. I pray on a regular basis, and I have some mantras. Some of them scriptural based, some of them not. Just having something that I can turn to remind myself that I'm worthy of the wonderful life that I have. Um, I've also been really lucky to have a great therapist and have some cognitive kind of behavioral therapy in my life, and so I think that's really important if it's something you struggle with on a regular basis. Um, Besides that, I do some reading. I think actually some really great acting books out there talk about living in the present and There's a quote by Lao Tzu that a lot of acting teachers reference that says, if you're depressed, you're living in the past. If you're anxious, you're living in the future. If you're at peace, then you're living in the present. I'm not sure how I feel about that word peace in this context, because I think you do have to wrestle a little bit in the present, and it's good to have a little bit of fear and good to have a little bit of motivation. But I do think any feelings of inadequacy are perhaps anticipation of something that may not never happen, may not ever happen, I should say. So I read up and I meditate and think on mantras and things like that.
Would you mind sharing some of those titles of those books, if for those of us who might be interested in maybe checking them out as well?
Reading up, sure, yeah. So there's a book called The Actor and the Target by Declan Donnellan. He talks a lot about acting, but there's a good portion there that talks about being in the present and about fear. And then there's a book called An Acrobat of the Heart by Jerzy Grotowski, who's a movement instructor, or I guess you could say he had a kind of revolutionary effect on movement for the actor. And there's a quote from his book that says, "Do not be confined in explorations to those pathways for which we have maps." So it's kind of an inspiring look at life. Both of those books, of course, have a lot of activities and exercises for actors, but knit between them are really interesting, inspirational content as well.
Well, great. Well, thank you for sharing those.
Yeah, sure.
Are you ready for the speed round?
Sure, yeah.
What individual that's either fiction or real has made the most impact on your life?
Well, real, it gotta be my mom. I mean, she's a petite blonde lady too. But fictional. Let's see. Oh gosh, Anne of Green Gables. She's redheaded and freckled. For some reason, the visual is coming to my mind right now. That's all I've got.
If you could instantly change one thing in the world, what would that be?
Oh yeah, end of war for sure. The defeat of hatred.
And what's your biggest weakness?
Chocolate chip cookies. I stated it right at the beginning, so here we are, full circle.
What's your biggest strength?
Oh gosh, my biggest strength. Knowing that the sun will come up tomorrow.
And if you could have one book to read, what would that be?
The Bible.
And what's your idea of a vacation?
Oh, doing some acro yoga with Steven. He's as my base. It's kind of heavenly, feeling like you can fly.
And do you have a favorite sound?
Yes. A great big vocalized sigh of relief. That's my favorite sound.
And if someone wants to connect with you, Anne-Marie, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, sure. Reach out via email. My email address is ARTS, as in arts, and then my initials AMW@gmail.com.
And what parting advice would you like to leave us with today?
Since I'm currently returned to school and as a student, I'm reminded how important having a curious beginner's mind about life is. So I think getting out and going to a class, looking for the teachers that are all around you, learning something new from all the people that you come in contact with is just it's a great way to remind yourself that there's always more to explore. And so I think get out and take a class in something. If there were any advice for me to give, that would be it.
That actually sounds like really great advice indeed. Anne-Marie, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today. It's been a real pleasure.
You're so welcome. It's been my pleasure.
Thank you for joining me today. And remember, you cannot achieve everything, but you do have the God-given ability to achieve anything. So stay focused, out of fear, and keep on keeping on. Until next time, be well and peaceful. For more information on today's episode and guest, or for resources that will assist you in overcoming your fears, visit livingbeyondyourfears.com. And don't forget to subscribe to this podcast, where 3 times a week we move to a life beyond our fears.